What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports MLB Swing for the Fences show. We got JT here. We got DC here. Hopefully JT's audio is working this time. JT, I'll throw it to you first. We can test that audio out before I get to DC. Do we have you? You all good? Does not look like it. So I'll remove him. I will go to DC. Let me do this quick. DC, what's going on, man? Monday, 7 games of baseball, 2 NBA games. Your team got a win yesterday. Didn't get swept. Nice to see. As far as my team, I hope they can also get a win and get a 2-2 today. How was your Monday going?
Yeah, pretty good. Your hosting skills getting tested right off the bat here, but well played.
And producing skills. I got 2 things going on.
Hosting and producing, yeah, and analysts. So yeah, you got the 3 hats on. I struggle with just one, so credit to you, rocking it over there. Hopefully we'll get JT back in here. Timberwolves, I was pretty shocked that they won in overtime after that epic collapse with, what were they up, like 12 with 3 minutes to go, something like that. I was like, wasn't shocked whatsoever that they blew it. I think they blew the most double-digit leads of any team all year long. And, continue their season for probably one more game. Let's be honest. Back in Denver, I don't like their chances in Game 5, but good win for the Wolves. Obviously, coming off for a long weekend of baseball, and right back to it today with, I think, a pretty interesting slate with Spencer Strider up top, and then a pretty big drop off after him. So that SP2 is going to be, an important position, I think, on DraftKings tonight, as it always is, but especially tonight. With no, I don't think, real comfortable ways to go. So we'll break down the pitching, stacks, all that good stuff on the show.
Yep, as always. Yeah, Strider will be probably the highest owned pitcher. I think DeGrom got up to like 82% in some contests. I wouldn't be surprised to see Strider like that today. Yeah. JT, we'll try you again. Can you hear me, and can we hear you is the question. Negative. All right. Send them back out. Go back to here. We got 7 games, like we said. I don't even know if JT knows he's in the room. I have no clue what's going on. But DC is what we need for baseball. He's breaking down all the pitching for us. DC, we'll start there. I'll say hi to some people in chat, though. We got 225 watching, 77 likes. We do appreciate if you hit the like button for us. And when you do hit the like button, big red subscribe button as well helps us out a ton. Mike Carr's in here, Butthole Jenkins, P. Lally, Riley Golf Pro, Corey Brewer, we got Lycan, Richie Smalls in here, Jay Burton, Gator Nation talking about Rodgers finally traded, Junior, Jetty, Go Collect, Kid Lighton, Doug. Appreciate all of you hanging out with us. Sylvester Payne's in here. We appreciate it. I hope you guys are having a good Monday. Hopefully you're having a little better Monday than JT. JT, I don't know if you can hear us. If so, just close out of StreamYard. You get the day off. Pick some winners in baseball for the people. That's all right. But DC, pitching, we already talked about Strider. I mean, man, I think we just say group them all together unless you think it's easier. It's only a 2-man booth to go a certain range. But really, I assume, you can tell me if I'm wrong, Strider's just going to come lock and load in your lineups. I mean, everyone's going to play him. The clear SP1. After him, there's a huge drop-off. He's anchoring my lineups. There's no doubt about that. SP2, there's multiple ways to go. Are you going 100% Strider? And then talk about some of these other guys you're going for SP2.
Yeah, Strider, 100% Strider is the plan for me right now. I'm playing 3 lineups on each site. He's just been, I talked about kind of before his last start. I think some people were like, I don't know, he only, scored less than 20, 2 starts in a row. I'm like, this guy just looks the same to me as he did last year, just completely dominant every start. Of course, occasionally he's going to give up a 3-run home run or have a bad inning or something like that. But he's in this group right now for me. There's only a few of them. When you have that big fastball, right, that you can just throw past anybody, Garrett Cole can do it. We saw Jacob deGrom do it. But Spencer Strider in that group too, where they can have a bad inning and come back and rally back, still score you 25-30, and something has to go really wrong where they, really let you down fantasy-wise. It'll happen to all these guys, 1 or 2 or 3 starts throughout the year. But against Miami, I mean, you just got to assume Strider's putting up 25-30. And, I mean, he's miles above the field. You get past him, and I don't think there's really anybody that you can be super confident is going to have a good outing. It's interesting to compare this slate to yesterday's when I was on, like Jacob deGrom for me, it was essentially kind of the same slam dunk that Strider was, and DeGrom certainly came through. I think he struck out 11, had an awesome outing. But yesterday there were cheap pitchers that I liked. Logan Allen in particular, he had an awesome game, put up a big performance. Grayson Rodriguez was 6K. He put up a pretty big game. Today, I think the cheaper options are much worse than they were yesterday. So yesterday I could justify taking the savings, trying to get a big score from the cheaper pitchers, which we did. And then, you can pay up for bats and try to win that way. Texas didn't come through for me yesterday, but like you could make the case today. I think it's much harder to do so. So yeah, Strider, a long-winded way of saying I think Strider is the guy you want to lock into your lineups. So we start there. It gets tough after that, I think. Like Montgomery, Sonny Gray, the next two highest priced pitchers on DraftKings, I think are both pretty good options, but I do think they're kind of overpriced for what they bring to the table, at least in terms of upside. Neither has a particularly great matchup. Montgomery in San Francisco, Sonny Gray against the Yankees in Minnesota. Decent matchups, but not that great. I have Gray ahead of Montgomery. I think he's the more likely guy to approach double-digit strikeouts. But they're expensive. And if you pair them with Spencer Strider, you do kind of lock yourself out of some of the big bats on the slate. A few of them, namely, the Angels' right-handed studs at the top of their lineup, are priorities to me. I think I was on the show with you. I can't remember. It was when the Cardinals were up against Bumgarner, and I was like, "Oh yeah,
you called his last start and everything." Yeah,
yeah. I'm like, I'm playing these guys. I'm gonna find a way to get them into my lineup. The Goldschmidt ended up disappointing, but Tommy Edman had that massive game. A bunch of guys had huge games for the Cardinals. Sounds like we got JT back now. So JT, you there for us?
Fuck, man. Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, he is. All right. DC will finish up his pitching takes. He still got a little ways to go. Then we'll get you in there. We just had to see your beautiful mug, JT.
There you go.
Yeah. So I only bring that up just because it does seem like a similar situation to me where the Taylor Wards, Trouts, Ohtani, Renfroes of the world, those are the biggest priority for me on the slate, along with Spencer Strider. But to get those guys with Spencer Strider, you do got to go cheaper at pitching. So I'm going to have to, recommend some guys, I guess, that I'm not super confident are going to throw great games, but I think could be okay. First one I like the best, and he's averaging negative fantasy points through his first three starts here, is Jose Suarez at 5,800 for the Angels. I looked at him, kind of compared him to last year, try to see, is there anything different with Suarez this year that would make us think he couldn't be kind of the league average arm that we saw last year? I couldn't find much. Velocity, movements, all that stuff was the same. Of course, we got the new rules in baseball, which could potentially be affecting him, but probably not. Probably just a cluster of bad starts for him. And he gets the Oakland A's, right? So 5,800 for him. He is a guy that I think if he's pitching well, they will let throw 90 to 100 pitches. He hasn't got there yet, but I think that's just because he's been ineffective. They've got to get him out of the game. So he is my favorite at 5,800. I do think you can go to the cheapest pitcher on the board, Tommy Henry, called up for the Diamondbacks. Not a guy I think is all that great, to be honest, but he's 5K. He does have decent strikeout stuff, and this Royals team, not a very good offense, probably missing MJ Melendez today as well. I mean, you see, certainly the market doesn't have faith in Tommy Henry. Royals with the team total near 5 might be their highest of the year so far, but he is 5K. He would be my second choice. And then third, down in this kind of dumpster range, Matthew Boyd, who has been just okay so far, but he does have strikeout upside. Brewers lineup, they did load it up with right-handed bats, but I do think Boyd has the types of pitches to, like when he's on, he's got that back foot slider that he can get whiffs over the top of, rack up Ks. So I think he's maybe got the most upside, honestly, of the three, but I feel the least safe with him as well. So kind of depends on what you're going for there. But yeah, those are kind of the three guys. It's a stars and scrub night at pitching for me for the most part. Obviously Strider, and then in order Suarez, Henry, and Boyd. Again, not super confident in any of these guys, but it's just that type of slate, roster construction. Those will be the three guys that I got to go to pairing up with Strider.
I like it. Yeah, people in chat, before you even mentioned like Suarez, someone asked about him. Before you mentioned Boyd, someone asked about him. I like it, especially the Boyd. The Boyd one's interesting. He's very boomer bust, like you said. Brewers loaded lineup with right-handers, and their best bats are lefties. No Winker in the lineup, no Yelich, no Rowdy. You go to that bottom of the order, and there's some Blake Perkins, Joey Weimer. Like, there's some names that Bryce Turang, lefty. The bottom of the order is weak for sure. So you get through that top, can make sense. And then last thing, FanDuel. Sylvester Payne asked about it. I think you briefly mentioned that you were just locking him in on both sites. It's all SP1, Strider. Don't worry about anyone else. I take it on FanDuel.
Yeah, I mean, if you want all big bats, you can play Suarez down there at 5,800. But I think the difference between what Strider puts up and what you can expect Jose Suarez to put up, you're probably going to have a lot of points to make up right off the bat. It's certainly possible to do it, right? I mean, Strider could outscore him by even 30, and Suarez could end up being the superior play if it's all sluggers, high-priced guys that end up going off. So that's at least possible. But it would be Suarez that I would be willing to use down there in the cheap range. But on my own lineups, yeah, I'm starting with Strider. I did find enough cheap bats to get to that. I think he's the play today.
I agree. There's definitely enough cheap bats on FanDuel, as always. JT, hit us with pitching.
Yeah, I mean, that's, the slate tonight becomes easy if you just lock Spencer Strider, or it potentially becomes easier because now you only have to focus on one of these other guys. Like DC said, no reason to feel super confident in any one of these guys. I think the price on Suarez makes some sense here. We saw yesterday too, right? And really over the weekend as a whole, these pitchers that are decent, that started off bad, even pitchers with real upside, like Christian Javier yesterday, started off bad, and all of a sudden they're going to turn it around. Clark Schmidt for the Yankees yesterday, a guy that had looked terrible, he turned it around. So I think Suarez is probably 3. I do like Chris Bassett here at just 8K against the White Sox. There's a ton of swing and miss there. There was a lot of discussion before the season about how they moved the fences in Toronto. It's all of a sudden going to be an offensive park. Really hasn't worked out that way. So a good start, coming off a good start against Houston for Bassett. I don't expect anything fantastic here. Maybe 20 fantasy points, maybe a little bit more with a win bonus. I think for me personally, I don't know if I'm going to have Sonny Gray or not. It is cold in Minnesota. The Yankees haven't looked particularly great at times so far this season, but 9,300 for a pitcher who you're really only guaranteed 5 innings, right? He did have that massive upside start against Houston where he went 7 and struck out 13. That's enough for me to leave him in the pool, but I don't think I can even match the field at 20% here. And then Tommy Henry, I don't know if I can go there. I think he's another guy that maybe I'll leave in the pool. A guy who I'm probably not going to leave in the pool, though, is Matthew Boyd. I just can't do it. I don't think. Before the season, like a lot of people, I was kind of hopeful. Maybe he found something. There was, some talk about these guys going to the labs in the offseason, but my goodness, you talk about boom bust. It's more like strikeout or home run. And there's enough power from the right side in this Milwaukee lineup that I don't think he's going to make the cut for me today. So looking at 4 guys, Strider, Bassett, Suarez, Sonny Gray, a little bit, maybe some Tommy Henry. So maybe 5 guys for me.
I'll say this just real quick about Boyd. I get why you wouldn't want to play him, of course. But he has faced 3 pretty contact-oriented teams. The Indians, or the Guardians rather, the Red Sox, and the Astros, right? That's a pretty tough schedule for strikeouts. Now, when I watch him, obviously the home runs are I think, always going to be an issue for him. And he also and I hate rostering pitchers like this, where they just completely lose their release point and, they couldn't throw a strike if we were up there, right? It's just they're desperately trying to throw a strike and they just literally can't do it. So those are pitchers that I don't typically like to roster, but I do think he's going to have some pretty big strikeout games coming. And I don't know, looking at this Brewers lineup, I think there are strikeouts to be had here for Boyd. So yeah, I guess he would be maybe our biggest disagreement, JT.
I mean, for me though, and again, right? I said this when I started talking about pitching, about guys who have looked terrible. And like you said, there are a lot of things to get used to this season for some of these pitchers, right? The pitch clock, how many times you can throw over, no shift, right? No shift for these pitchers is just as big a thing as it is for the hitters because now those pitches, those hits that went to die are getting through. But for him, anytime I hear that, I've heard this more this season, it seems, than in the past, is, oh my God, that lineup. Oh my God, that lineup. I'm not saying there's no argument there. I think it was last week, Tyler McGill against the Dodgers. Oh, the Dodgers have a terrible lineup. He scored 7 fantasy points. So the lineup, what does it do for the pitcher, really? You've still got all these righties. Brian Anderson is having a renaissance. William Contreras is a good enough hitter that he's going to come around. They've got, like I said, some righty bats here. Yeah, you get to the bottom of the lineup. Maybe he can get some strikeouts. My thought process here is I'm kind of close to deciding on locking Strider. And if I do that, am I really going to get to him in 75 lineups? If I was playing 150, I'd probably get to him. In 75, 65 lineups, I just don't know if I want to take that chance. Your point is valid, though. I wouldn't argue the point that he can have upside. I just wonder, and you were talking about this earlier, where you're seeing some pitchers that maybe we're not going to see these guys for too much longer. Matthew Boyd's had that type of start to the season where if he was playing for any other team, you probably wouldn't be seeing him every 5th day. Yeah.
That definitely makes sense. I mean, it is 2023 Matthew Boyd. He's cheap, and that's just the pitching slate we have. And I said it from the beginning. DC said it, like, in the longer we talk, the more I feel even better about it. Is like, yeah, Strider's coming preloaded. If I had 150 lineups, I'm playing 150 Strider probably. And if it beats me, it beats me. But, I mean, SP2 is tough.
Yeah. Boyd, Boyd, he's got, I think it's a 5.5 K prop, right? So 5.5 juiced under. That's a pretty high K prop for a guy at 6'6", but I've also made mistakes making decisions based on K props because Vegas is going to say, hey, the public is going to think that this guy is going to turn it around and strike out some of these guys, and maybe he does.
Plus number on the 5.5 for Boyd there.
Plus 102 or something.
Yeah. Might have to load up the DK app. I like the over on 5.5 K prop for old Matthew Boyd.
There you go.
So, right. So DC, you got, before we go hitting, DC, you got Strider, Suarez. Who was your third?
Henry and Boyd.
Henry, Boyd. And then JT, your Strider, Bassett. You said Suarez third?
Strider, Bassett, Suarez, Gray a little bit behind him. I do feel, I mean, maybe I shouldn't feel this way, but I do feel that Sonny Gray has a chance here, even if he only goes 5 or 6 innings. If his breaking pitches are on, he could come in and get to 25 or 30 fantasy points. And I don't see a lot of other pitchers here that I feel that confident in based on the environment. So I will have to leave him in the pool and maybe have, maybe even with the field. I don't know. That's a decision point for me.
I like it. That's pitching on this slate. Strider, move on, figure out something at SP2. Let's go hitting again. 7 games. We'll go game by game as always. Appreciate it if you do hit the like button for us. Over 400 watching, 127 likes. A little hurtful right now, but you guys got some time. We appreciate it if you do hit it. First game of the night, Chicago White Sox, Toronto Blue Jays, Lance Lynn, Chris Bassett on the mound. 9 total. I'll go to you first, JT, in this one. Are we picking on Lance Lynn? Pretty healthy total for Toronto. And then other side, I take it you're not picking on Bassett.
Yeah, I mean, you could certainly take in non-Bassett lineups, you could take a chance on some of the power here at the top of the Chicago lineup. Guys like Andrew Vaughn, Eli Jimenez has been actually hitting the ball pretty well. Of course, in Bassett lineups, I'm going to avoid them. I'm not as much in love with Toronto as I think a lot of people are going to be tonight. I might have some, but I don't think they're going to get near the top of my list here. Obviously, we know that the White Sox bullpen has been pretty weak. So, but it's just pricing. These guys are priced pretty healthily as well. So definitely we'll have some, but it's not a priority game here for me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see like one like chalk team. I think multiple teams get some ownership, but this Toronto team, I mean, if you look outside the top 2 guys, Vlad and Bichette, they're cheap. I mean, Varsho's in the Matt Chapman too, 5.2K in the 4-hole, but Varsho in the 3-hole only 4K. Then you got everyone below 3.5K, 5 through 9. So yeah, if you need a cheap one, DC, can you get behind any of these Toronto guys and talk about the White Sox?
Yeah, I'm kind of just neutral on the Bassett against the White Sox matchup there. I get why JT likes Bassett. Not there myself. I just kind of want a little bit more savings at pitcher, but I do get that one. So yeah, I'm not going to have White Sox or Bassett. I'll just kind of be hoping for a mediocre performance, I guess, from him. Lance Lynn I can't really figure him out. I mean, he's been pretty dang bad so far this year. An ERA of 7.5. He had the one good game against the Twins, but I mean, giving up 5, 3, 8, and 2 earned runs in the 4 starts. I can't really find anything that's like particularly wrong with them. He's throwing 100 pitches every time out. If he wasn't healthy, I don't think they would let him go that long, or probably wouldn't be pitching at all. Frankly, his velocity is the same as last year. You always do wonder with these pitchers that have struggled out of the gate if the new rules, it's obviously going to affect some guys more than others. So Lance Lynn could be one of those guys that, struggles without getting the full time between pitches. If you look at the size of him, that could potentially make some sense. I mean, wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world. But I think if that was the case, you'd see him, not being able to throw as hard or something like that. So I think, kind of like JT mentioned, it's so easy to start like writing off these guys after 3 or 4 starts. If it happened in the middle of the season, you wouldn't necessarily notice this run for Lance Lynn. But when it happens in the beginning, right, whenever you start, it's kind of under the microscope. You just start to wonder if there might be something wrong. So I guess my approach when there's a pitcher like Lance Lynn that I just can't quite figure out, I'm not really sure what to expect, it's kind of stack or nothing, right? Because you are just betting on Lance Lynn not being the same guy. Like if he is the same guy, I wouldn't really want any Blue Jays against him if he's kind of the old version of Lance Lynn that we've seen for years. But if he's a broken version, then you kind of want the whole stack. So this would be a team, the Blue Jays, where, if I want to go up against Lance Lynn and bet that he's kind of a lesser version of himself right now, give me this stack. They could absolutely do damage. Obviously, a ton of good hitters in the lineup. No George Springer, but you could just kind of make the argument if you want that makes the stack cheaper, because there are reasonable guys to go to. I like the 1 through 5, especially Bichette, Guerrero, Varsho, Chapman, and Alejandro Kirk makes a lot of sense to me.
I like it. Yeah, that definitely makes sense, though, about when you're uncertain about someone, he's either completely broken and you think he'll figure it out, 5-man it or nothing. I think that makes some sense for sure. Keep it rolling. Next game on the slate, Miami Marlins, Atlanta Braves, Edward Cabrera, Spencer Strider on the mound. 65 in Atlanta, 2 Atlanta fans, so I have to go to someone first and someone last. DC just talked, so I'll go to JT first. I assume you're not picking on Strider, but are you playing some of these Braves?
Yeah, we're talking about locking Strider. That means 0 Marlins bats here. But for the Braves, I mean, at 5% ownership, they're just too good to be 5% owned. I mean, I don't love the outfield either. I was talking about this with a friend yesterday, actually watching the Braves game, and just a bad weekend against a very, very talented Houston team. There are some injuries in the Braves bullpen, but offensively, this outfield is like, quadruple A is I guess, generous to them. Although Kevin Pillar did hit a home run, Edward Cabrera has been, a pitcher that we've liked in the past, and a pitcher that I think has a lot of talent. But at some point, these Braves are going to wake up. And, Sean Murphy got the day off yesterday. I think he's back in the lineup today. So it's a little bit stronger lineup. And, man, 5% for the Braves on a slate where the Kansas City Royals are going to be 15% owned. Yeah, I have some interest in the Braves.
Yeah. Excuse me. I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, you did mention the bottom of the order, it gets a little tougher. If you play Strider and you play some of these top the order, they are expensive, which will keep the ownership down. That's when you're going to go dumpster dive like a Jose Suarez or something as SP2. DC, Braves, you got the head on. Are you going to them?
Yeah, I do like them quite a bit tonight. Edward Cabrera, young, hard-throwing pitcher for the Marlins. The talent is unquestionable with him. There's no doubt he's going to have big outings. He's a guy that, as long as he's in the rotation, you probably want to, take some stabs on from time to time as a cheaper starting pitcher with upside. but he's also very prone to blow-ups. I mean, averaging over 8 walks per 9 innings so far on the year. Like, these are the types of guys you do want to stack against because they can just completely lose it. And, even like the Braves bottom of the order is rough. The top 4 is as good as it gets, but the bottom 5 right now, I don't really want to play those guys, but sure. I mean, that top of the order, again, I know they're expensive, but like if Cabrera's not on his game and, he's walking guys at the bottom and they can finally turn the order over, get these guys up there 5 times in this game, get into that bullpen early, which will happen if Cabrera doesn't have his command. Yeah, I think the Braves, like JT said, low ownership, but as much upside as anybody, I think, on this slate. So, yeah, I love the Braves here at low ownership.
Yeah, I think mixing in the bottom of the order would be fine because, like you did mention, I mean, he can't get wild. If he's walking guys, his command's not there. You turn 2.3K guys down at the bottom. That helps you get the top guys, helps you get Strider, get some runs. Maybe they mix in a stolen base or something. So, yeah, I think it's gross clicking it down there. But if you're playing Acuna, Riley, Olsen, Strider, eventually you need some salary relief. I think going to the bottom wraparound stack makes some sense. Keep it rolling. As usual, Braves look good, but unlike usual, they're not chalky today. They're low owned, like JT mentioned, which is always a little nicer. From their favorite team to mine, the Milwaukee Brewers and the Detroit Tigers. Matt Boyd, Colin Ria on the mound. Fortunately, my team is not nearly as good as these two guys. Someone mentioned, JT, I'll go to you, about Colin Ria. We didn't mention him in the pitching pool. Do you have any thoughts there? Any Detroit or Milwaukee bats?
Yeah. I guess there are some cheap bats in this Detroit lineup, and Colin Ria. I mean, I don't even know if he could call him league average. I don't know. We don't know a whole lot about this guy because he's a career minor leaguer. He had a good start, his first start against San Diego, then predictably had a bit of a letdown in his next one. I'm not excited to play Colin Ria. He's fine at the price because of the matchup, but I am interested. You can play some of these cheaper guys. I think Kerry Carpenter's shown some power this season, so he's fine. I don't see a need to go overboard with any Detroit stacks or anything myself. But on the Milwaukee side, I do have interest in the power bats at the top of the lineup. And look, the bottom of their lineup is cheap. So if you're not playing Matthew Boyd and you wanted to full stack this or stack this with one of the more expensive teams, the Braves, the Angels, what have you, some of those top of the order Toronto bats, then I do think you could take some shots. Joey Weimer has actually looked pretty good. It's a lefty-lefty matchup, but once you get into that bullpen, I don't think you have to worry about that. Whereas you may have to worry about, that's the one thing to consider. And DC, interested to hear your take on this. With the lineup they put out, I do think there's some pinch hit risk once you get into that Detroit bullpen. And then, Title, a question for you. I wasn't on at the beginning because my audio, for no reason, apparently went out. But are you eating Dipping Dots or Fruit Loops? I mean, what are you munching on in there before you
DC,
hand it off?
Tell them. There's been a couple shows with DC. Tell them what I'm munching on, DC.
Smoothie.
DC, listen, if that was Mangone in that chair, I don't think I probably wouldn't ask the question. I'm not sure he would have known, but a smoothie. Nice little amplitude smoothie.
The smoothie. Very nice. Very nice.
Better than Fruit Loops and Dippin' Dots. I will say that. We got Bobby Gomes in chat. What's going on, Bobby? Boss man says he's stacking both sides of this game. DC, are you stacking both sides of this game? I think your answer is going to be no, but what you got?
I think you could make the case for it. Colin Rea or Colin Ree. What I don't even know what his name is.
We're going to go Colin Ree. JT, I trust his
pronunciation. He pronounces it both ways because nobody cares.
Yeah. There you go.
We'll go with Ree.
Colin Ree. So, yeah, he has essentially the lowest swinging strike rate of any starter in baseball this year so far. He did manage to get 6 Ks that first game, but he's not a guy that misses bats. He's 32 years old, like JG said, a career minor leaguer. I just really don't think he's any good. Now, he does face the Tigers, which, Kyle Gibson struck out 11 Tigers on Saturday. Like it's a great matchup for him, but I don't think he's going to go deep into games. I know he made it over 5 innings in his first 2 starts. I think that's going to prove to be an anomaly for him. Actually would prefer pains me to say it, but prefer the Tigers over playing Rhee himself. So I'm not going there. Not super excited to play the Tigers either, honestly. Probably mostly just a fade on both sides of it. And then, yeah, I mean, I get why people are stacking the Brewers against Matthew Boyd. Totally makes sense. He could absolutely give up home runs. Like we said, he can be wild. You mentioned the pinch hit risk, JT. I think like most of this lineup is a pinch hit risk. You've got Yelich on the bench, Rowdy Tellez on the bench, Jesse Winker on the bench. I think all three of those guys are coming in this game when Boyd exits. I think the three most likely guys to be pinch hit for, Mike Brosseau there at the top of the lineup, Owen Miller. I think that might maybe his first start of the year. And then I don't even know who Blake Perkins is, to be honest. So yeah, those three guys I think are, very likely to come out of the lineup unless it's a lopsided game or something like that. Sometimes in those situations, the team will just go with the starters. But yeah, I think the safe ones are Joey Weimer, Luke Voigt, and Brian Anderson, along with Willie Adames. So yeah, kind of the regulars there usually get to stay in, but certainly a pinch hit risk team. I think you'll see a decent amount of people go to these cheap Brewers bats against Boyd, trying to get the cheap home run. I mean, Brosseau, 2.3K at the top of the lineup, but maybe only 2 at bats in this game for him. I would even say maybe likely only 2 at bats. So I'm probably not going to go there myself. Obviously, like Boyd to some degree, but I do get why people are on this game in general and on the Brewers as well.
Yeah. 4.6 total for the Brewers isn't bad, but yeah, I'm nervous about some of this pinch hit risk as well. When a righty comes in the game, not familiar faces in the lineup, I think they definitely, like you said, Brosseau at the top, 2 at bats, that definitely makes sense to me. Man, yeah, I don't know. I don't love that game too much when it comes to bats. I think the Blue Jays, out of all these teams right now, are my favorite stack. Sounds like you guys, Atlanta. Keeping it rolling, though, we still got half the slate left. 4 games. New York Yankees, Minnesota Twins, 7.5 total. Brito, Sonny Gray on the mound. 48 degrees in Minnesota, DC. I don't know what it is in Colorado right now, but at least if it's 48 by you can look at the mountains. I don't know what you're looking at in Minnesota. What's going on, man? You stacking these Twins?
Yeah, had to get out of Minnesota, man. The bad weather, like
right by Wisconsin, same thing. That's why right in the Midwest. It's give me sunlight.
Beautiful day here in Colorado, by the way. But yeah, Minnesota. I just don't go to this stadium often when it's below 50 degrees. You see people put a charge into baseballs, and it just kind of dies out there in the outfield usually. The Twins did absolutely nuke Johnny Brito a couple weeks ago in that start against Joe Ryan when Brito was somehow higher owned than Ryan was. I probably think Brito bounces back here, honestly. This Twins lineup has not looked very good so far, below average in almost every offensive metric so far. They have 1 stolen base on the entire year, the Twins do, which is just absurd. So yeah, I actually don't think Brito would be the craziest play here. Sonny Gray, I think, is a pretty good option with upside. I mean, this Yankees lineup too, like they got Judge and Rizzo, I guess, in there, but man, beyond that, it's really not that impressive of a lineup. I do think Sonny Gray, pitching in the cold weather here, does have a chance. I think it was similar weather when he struck out 13 Astros, so he obviously wasn't affected by the chillier temperatures. Yeah, I think Sonny Gray does have upside again. I do want to go cheaper at one of my pitchers with Strider, so I'm not going to, I don't think, get to Sonny Gray on my 6 teams, but I get why people would go there. I think he's a solid way to go, but I'm mostly just avoiding offense in this game. I do like Joey Gallo a little bit down in the 7 hole. He'll be super low owned, but 5 home runs on the season already for Gallo. Wouldn't be shocked to see him take Brito deep, but mostly an avoid here offensively.
Man, imagine having 1 stolen base all year with all those new rule changes. That's a tough scene, and that sounds pretty negative EV when it comes to an analytical perspective. I'll just say that. Tough route. JT, 48 degrees doesn't excite me too much, but as DC mentioned, the Twins did get to Rito recently. Are they going to get to him again?
No, I don't think so. I agree with DC here where, he probably bounces back. There was some talk that he was likely tipping pitches. I mean, and a performance like that, You have to believe that there was something amiss there. Do agree with DC. You can take shots on one-offs here. Gallo, I don't know if I'll get there myself. And then, you mentioned the Twins and analytics. I mean, the only thing they do that, and it's completely backwards the way they do it, is like they refuse to go more than 5 innings with their pitchers for the most part. Like, I think it's Gray and Ryan are the two guys who are like, yeah, maybe we'll give them the 6th to the 7th, which is why I like Sonny Gray tonight. But yeah, they whoever they have interpreting the analytics is doing it in a different way than the other Major League Baseball teams.
Yeah, I'm glad that's not my favorite team. Tough scenes going on right there. Paraby scared me, said, well, wrap it up for the Celtics. And I took it the other way when I read it at first glance. I was like, what could have just happened? DeJounte suspended a game. So, yeah, I figured that was coming. NBA tonight, we're talking MLB, though. We got two NBA games. What, we got 3 baseball games left? Yeah, 3 left. What do we got for likes? 515 watching, 166 likes, 230 likes. 250, I'm not sure we'd get to. I do want to get to the plays of the day. 230 likes. We appreciate it in advance. Can't be anything less than that, though. JT will not approve. 3 games left. Oakland Athletics, Los Angeles Angels, Ken Waldichuk, Jose Suarez on the mound. We have a 10 total in LA. JT, someone mentioned in chat earlier, I forget who said it, but 5.91 implied total, something around there for the Angels. Coors Field total, they were saying, or Lycan said that. How about that team total for the Angels, like a Coors game? They're going to be chalky, both sites. What are you doing in this spot against Big Ken?
Yeah, I mean, look, I can't take credit for this because DC's been on this since the beginning of the season. By the way, you notice that now that DC and I met in person several times, we're much less chippy with each other. It's almost too cordial. It's kind of disgusting. We might have to do something about that. Maybe do a public Twitter fight or something. But
I'm always ready.
DC has been talking about this A's bullpen, and we saw this for the most part over the weekend. This team is expensive, but I mean, Chad Wallach did hit a home run the other night. Zach Neto at the bottom is 2,700. So I'll definitely have some stacks of the Angels. And then it's tough, man. These guys have some hitters that I think have some talent. I mean, Shane Langeliers is pretty good. We liked Estuary Ruiz before the season. They've just been, as a collective whole, not very good. And we like Suarez a bit here as a cheap pitcher to have a bounce back. I don't think it's crazy to have some mini stacks of the A's. I probably won't have many, but I do think that, it is weird, the total. I think the total is based almost wholly on the incompetence of the Athletics pitching staff because it's not even all that warm in Southern California. So definitely we'll be on some Angels here.
Yeah, when I saw that total, I expected right away like 75, 80, something like that. I was surprised to see that as well. DC, you like Suarez, so 7-game slate. Like, are you going to 4-game slate? I think it can make some sense. I don't know. I wouldn't go against my second favorite pitcher on the board, though. Are you going to any Oakland and talk about these Angels?
The guy I like for Oakland is Shea Langeliers. Assuming he's in the lineup at catcher. I've been impressed with what I've seen from him so far. I should be in there. Good chance I'll have him on my non-Suarez teams, but not going crazy. Brent Rooker, the other guy, has obviously shown big power this year. Probably hitting cleanup tonight. Could easily get one off Suarez. So there are a couple A's that I think are decent plays, but not going with the full stack against Suarez here. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to sound like a broken record. People that read my stuff, subscribers that read my stuff on the site, I write this almost every day until I see something change with the Oakland bullpen. And I don't know what that would be. They're certainly not going to trade for anybody. They're going to, just like a truly historically bad bullpen and starting pitching staff that is only going to get worse when they run out of pitchers, right? Because people get hurt. And until I see some change, I'm going to stack against this team pretty much blindly every single day. It won't be the only stack that I make necessarily, right? But you've heard the age-old MLB discussion. What if you just stacked the same team every day? How would you end up at the end of the year? Well, I flipped that one on its head. I think you want to stack against the A's every single day in some shape or form because they just don't have any good pitchers on the whole damn staff. And yeah, they're going to continue to get rocked. Of course, it's not going to work every single day. It's kind of the point. You don't even know who's going to come in for them. They're not good against righties, lefties, nothing. So I might on the Angels here. That is the reason why I'm going cheaper at that SP2 spot. I want Ward, Trout, Ohtani, Renfroe, and then I do really like Zach Neto in the 9-hole. Highly touted prospect. Hasn't done much yet, but I don't love the shortstop position. He's 2,700, and you get that wraparound stack with the top of the Angels lineup that we do like so much. So yeah, back on the team facing the A's today. Does seem like the market, Vegas catching on a little bit. Angels with the team total near 6 on a fairly cool day in Los Angeles, like you guys mentioned. But I think these totals against the A's might keep on climbing because they just can't get anybody out. So Angels my favorite stack on the day. No surprise there. And like I said, I do like Suarez mostly because he's so cheap. Partly because of the matchup, but if you're not using him, I do think Langoliers and Rooker in particular look like pretty good plays to me.
Yeah, and honestly, you've been way ahead of the boat on just picking on Oakland. Obviously, Angels are going to have some ownership today, but there's ways you can get a little different. I think Trout will be very, very popular. Skip Trout in that stack. Go a Neto, Ward, Skip Trout, Ohtani, Rendon, something like that. You want to go Big Chad, 8, 9, 1, 3, 4, something like that. I think Trout will be the most expensive in that stack, and you can play Trout, of course. 5 Angels is fine.
Not that I'm necessarily advocating skipping Trout, but going back to that St. Louis slate against Bumgarner, the favorite bat in that slate was Goldschmidt, and he was the one that kind of ended up disappointing while the rest of the stack did go off. So it does happen, right? There is certainly a way that could happen.
Yeah, it's baseball. If I knew, I wish I knew the ownership, of course, ahead of time, it'd be easier. But if Trout's 28%, and the next highest guy's like 18%, yeah, give me that ownership. Take that one out, play someone lower owned. Mike Trout can go for 5 any day. That's the game of baseball. We play a lot of variance in the sport, but I like the Angels call. Obviously, the team total reflects it, but the bullpen, you say they're cheeks, keep picking on it. You've been doing it. It's been working out. I like it. 2 games left, 230 likes is what we need for the plays of the day. JT, going to you. Kansas City Royals, Arizona Diamondbacks, Brad Keller, Tommy Henry on the mound, 10.5 total. What you got in this one?
Yeah, this game is going to be popular. It's going to be the most popular game stack, 15% total stack ownership on both of these teams. And I like the Diamondbacks here. I don't think there's a lot of reason to not like the Diamondbacks with the way that Keller has pitched so far this season. And really outside of the Cuban guy, I can't think of his name right now, that they got from the Yankees, this bullpen has been pretty bad. Looks like they're showcasing him in non-leverage situations. So like the Diamondbacks, like the Royals, a little bit less here. Just 15% ownership for the Royals seems wrong, and it seems like a good thing to be well underweight on. So that's my viewpoint here. And then, as we talked about earlier, Tommy Henry, 5K, he gets you 10 points, 12 points, and your teams hit the ball tonight. I think you're in very good shape.
Yeah, more you say. If Royals are going to come in 15%, that makes Tommy Henry even more interesting. If you're punting SP2 and a lot of guys all look very similar, you at least get some leverage off of one of the more popular stacks. Man, yeah, if Royals are 15%, I think underweight, just a team like that going underweight every time makes some sense. But DC, guaranteed 9th inning at bats, good hitting environment. Tommy Henry's not too great. Are you going to – last game, Angels pretty chalky. This game, definitely chalky. What are you doing?
Yeah, the Royals, I assume this is going to be a popular way to go. Fit well with the Angels, especially on FanDuel. You can fit Royals, Angels, Strider, which is what my lineups look like.
Yeah.
There's a reason I know, because the Royals are super cheap. Like Tommy Henry, I do want to be clear. I don't really think he's any good. It's really just a price point play here on Tommy Henry. It makes me nervous because the Diamondbacks have been making some curious decisions at starting pitcher. Bumgarner, they should have cut bait on him faster than they did. Zach Davies was awful, got hurt. Even the guys that they called up, Jameson got rocked yesterday. I don't know what they're waiting for on Brandon Pfaadt. He'll be up soon. But like Tommy Henry hasn't been good. It's just kind of hoping to get lucky to some degree, get 4 or 5 strikeouts and make it past 5 innings, maybe get a win is what you're hoping, or at least what I'm hoping for with Tommy Henry. But yeah, you can certainly go to the Royals here. I get it. I don't personally think the Diamondbacks deserve to have as high a team total as the Angels today, which it's close. And given everybody wants to play Strider and nobody's going to feel super comfortable with a cheap SP2 today, I totally understand it. So I think a lot of people will kind of pay up for a second SP. The D-backs are way cheaper than the Angels are, right? Which is why we're going to see their ownership be high, because they've got a team total that's close to the same, but much cheaper ways to go when people do probably want to pay for pitching today for the most part. So, yeah, I like the Diamondbacks today, but I just like the Angels way more, and I'm going to sacrifice that second starting pitcher spot to some degree to get the Angels over the Diamondbacks. But, yeah, you'll see this team be really popular for good reason. I do expect them to have a good game here.
Yeah, but you definitely like the Angels more, picking on Oakland. So, yeah. No, I like it. I like it for sure. We'll move it on. Last game of the slate. What do we need? 23 more likes for 230, 540 watching. Do appreciate when you hit it. Also, the big red subscribe button. We have an MLB Final Countdown show today as well. Probably talk some hoops on that. 2-game NBA slate. A lot of action tonight. Baseball, basketball. It's a great time of the year this time. Last game of the slate. JT, going to you. St. Louis Cardinals, San Francisco Giants. 8 total. Jordan Montgomery, Alex Cobb on the mound. It's not even going to be 60, high 50s is what I'm seeing. Not much interest for me, but it'll be low owned. You got something in this game?
Minimal interest here in the bats, just for that reason. Very low owned here. And in this park, with these new rules, hasn't really been one to avoid. We've seen some runs here. We saw some runs there last night on the Sunday Night Baseball game. We saw the Giants go absolutely wild after everyone decided they could never hit lefties. David Peterson found out the hard way that that's not always the case. So I'll have some stacks here, maybe mini stacks more so of either team. Probably favor St. Louis a little bit more than San Francisco, just because pretty much up and down the Giants lineup, you never know who could be pinch hit for.
Yeah, I agree. If I went to anyone, it'd be St. Louis, but their big bats are expensive. I don't know. They're contrarian, though. I mean, what? You could get them 3%, 4% own something. Are you going to anyone in this game, DC?
Yeah, you guys better hit the like button quick, because this will be a quick one for me. I just don't see – I mean, it's 2 pretty good veteran pitchers, right? They've been around a long time. I thought Cobb looked really good in that last start against Miami. Jordan Montgomery, not a guy who gets blown up very often. I kind of see a 4-3 type game here, honestly, which – I don't know if either pitcher is going to do quite enough at these price tags to get there, but I don't really expect fireworks too much from either offense. If you want to pick off a one-off, try to grab a home run from one of these power bats on either side, I think that's fine. But I don't see one of these stacks being on the winner tonight. It would surprise me if that ended up the case. I know they'll be low owned, so if you want to play that angle, I get it, but not for me here with the bats or really even the pitchers. Mostly a game I'll be avoiding.
I like it. I'll be in that similar boat. That is all 7 games. I'm going to look at the like button like 15 seconds. I will say it's JSU, K Fallick, and Big T on the Up to Lock show today. Yeah, and they'll talk hoops. They'll talk baseball. Can get all your questions answered in the live show chat. You do have to be a member, though. Title 15 gets you 15% off. Make sure you do get in the Discord as well. You can get all your questions answered for all sports. Very knowledgeable members in there talking sports as well. Likes 237. We did get it done. It's like pulling teeth nowadays. It only seems to get harder. 560 watching, 237 likes. Shouldn't get the plays of the day, but I set the number. We wanted to get it to you. Right now is the time. If you have not hit the like button, we do appreciate if you do. I'll go to myself first with the SO play of the day. Going to go to the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are my favorite stack. I forgot to ask favorite stacks too, so I will say plays of the day and your favorite stacks. We'll do it all in one segment. Alejandro Kirk, big catcher. Think he's not going to be low owned, but I think we see some other catchers a little more popular. Right in that 5 hole, you can stack it lower if you want to go with the cheap guys. You can use it Top of the order as well, if you want to get to the expensive guys, Alejandro Kirk, the SO play of the day in my favorite stack with the Blue Jays. JT, need your favorite stacks and your play of the day.
Yeah, we'll go with the Angels. We'll go with the Angels. We'll go with the Diamondbacks, and we'll go with the Braves. And talked about it. Tough weekend for the Braves against excellent competition. Just good starting pitching, great pitching out of the bullpen. Now the Marlins come into town. And the Marlins, well, they don't have the pitching that the Astros do. So my Eiffel Tower play of the day is a guy who's going to get back on track in a big way. Matty Olson. Hopefully he hits one right into my hands in right field because I'll be out there tonight.
Ooh, right in your Coors Light cup is what I hope happens, JT. Catch it with that cup.
We don't want to ruin the beer. We don't want to ruin the beer. They're more expensive this year because they have less time to sell the beers. I paid $25 for 2 hot dogs on Friday night. So it's kind of like, hey, let's not ruin the beer. I'll keep a hand free and hopefully be able to catch it and not lose a pinky.
Fair enough. Hope you have a great time at the game, JT. DC, what you got? Mom's basement play of the day. First, though, a couple of your favorite stacks.
Yeah, JT going to have to spend, I guess, more money on beers and fewer trips to Paris, France. So it's going to be a tough place. You'll have to make. Angels, no surprise, my number one. I will go Braves 2, and we'll get a little different from JT. Go with the Royals, the other side of that D-backs Royals game as my third favorite. Mom's basement play of the day. Got to go with the Angels here, but we'll go to the bottom of the lineup. Rookie shortstop Zach Neto, 2,700 on DraftKings. I think he's 2,200 on FanDuel. Again, hasn't done much yet, but he is a guy I have fairly high hopes for coming up here as a top prospect. So Zach Neto, Mom's basement play of the day.
Zach Neto, Matt Olson, Alejandro Kirk, the 3 plays of the day. Big T, JSU, K Fallick going live in 18 minutes. Head over to the Discord, the live show chat. Get all your questions answered. 2 sports, basketball, baseball. A lot of money to be made tonight. Let's see some RPS logos up top. We'll be back tomorrow like always. Like button, subscribe on the way out. We appreciate it. For JT, DC, I'm Titletown. Good luck, everybody.